All right, let's go ahead and get started. I'm glad you all made it in and out of the rain. Tonight is, tragically, our last class. But there's a couple of reasons why you may be able to keep your composure and pull yourself together. One, we should definitely stay in touch. Please keep me posted on your progress. Let me know if I can help you with anything. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I'd be happy to know what's going on in your business school development and what's going on in your careers. Second reason why we should not break down in tears because this is our last class is because this class is fun. We're going to do improvisational exercises tonight. Not only the normal improvisation type stuff, but I've actually recruited a musician, a pianist, is going to take us through some musical improvisation stuff in the second half of the class. So I'm looking forward to adding that, and I'm also just looking forward to thinking about a lot of the communication techniques we've discussed up until now, thinking about how we can use them in this interactive improv theater kind of setting. So with that, let me go ahead and dive right in. Improvisation. First question, let's clarify what improvisation is. Can someone start us off? What is improv? Seth.
To be impromptu and even to be impromptu, just think on your feet.
Yes, impromptu, think on your feet, specifically doing some sort of theatrical scenes. And we'll just make it up. Come up, we'll do some sort of scene, just make it up off the top of your head. So first question, or after that, I guess that was the first question. Second question is, why are we doing this? What are the business skills you might develop in such an exercise? Or are we just doing this because I am a frustrated failed actor and want to torture you? What is the business relevance to this? Jim?
It's like a team building exercise. You can build trust in your coworkers.
Absolutely. You may get up here, may be very anxious, and if your team members just leave you stranded, then that's not going to feel good. But if they come through and you're able to create something, good teamwork stuff, man.
There'll be a lot of spots where we don't know exactly, we're not prepared for in the future.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to think about it.
A lot of things in your future careers you may need to be able to be spontaneous for. You may need to show flexibility. You don't want to be the person who doesn't understand the new computer system, can't make a change when there's a change in personnel. You want to be able to be spontaneous, and that's going to be a lot of your value. More.
Yeah, so continuing on to what you said about that, in business, you might need to network, you might need to interact with coworkers, stuff will continue the conversation.
Yeah. All right, be spontaneous. Do whatever you need to do to continue that conversation. Yes, well.
We embrace change when you're not, there's something new situation just comes to you must be
Yeah. Do not resist change.
It
Fantastic.
help you kind of break out of your mold, like if you're very reserved person,
Yeah.
help you make, hey, let's do this. I
Yes.
really should do it.
Yeah, it gives us permission to break out of our mold. And you may have worked with people who might have great ideas, but you just want to shake them and say, break out of your mold a little bit, be a little creative, take a risk, and we'll be able to build whatever product we need to build, be able to do what we ever need to accomplish from a business standpoint. If they would just break out of their mold a little bit. Anything else? Good thought. So I think I wrote down on the slides the flexibility and the spontaneity, the teamwork, and the listening skills. I would say teamwork goes with listening skills. You'll find when you're doing an improvisational exercise that you need to listen very carefully to your scene partner. Often the suggestion that comes out may not make the most sense initially, but if you hear it and think of a way to play that scene, then it can go somewhere exciting. And the takeaway, or the parallel in the business world, is that people you meet in team meetings and business teams and business functions may not make suggestions, present ideas that seem immediately clear to you, but if you listen and give it a chance and don't shut it down immediately, then it can go somewhere interesting. So teamwork, listening skills, spontaneity, flexibility, creativity, problem-solving skills, and also just a good chance, as Michael said, to get out of our shell and practice public speaking stuff. So moving on to how do we do improv. We already mentioned that this is just something we're going to make up off the top of our head. Does that scare anyone? No?
Scared about my
That
car.
scares you?
A little bit.
No, shaking your head? Scares you a little bit? So, how are we going to do this? With no acting training, I'm going to have you come up and do these acting scenes. And I can tell you, they're going to be pretty good. Just from experience. Because of the talent you bring. You already have it. A couple things I like to point out to people who have never done this type of thing before is you have a couple very important skill sets already. One, you have a very vivid imagination. Two, you have a very profound understanding of storytelling techniques. So let's sound those out one at a time. One, the very vivid imagination. This may not be a skill that you flex a lot. Perhaps it's not a skill that you flex a lot in your work environment, but you have it. Let me give you some examples. Have any of you ever daydreamed about winning the lottery? All right, when you daydream about winning the lottery, what goes through your head? Okay. Swimming in a pile of money. Do you think of anything else? Do you think of maybe what you're going to do tomorrow morning when you call your boss and tell her, him to whatever? Do you think about where you might go? Do you think about who you might get in touch with? Do you imagine yourself years from now overdosing on drugs in Beverly Hills? Whatever you imagine. Do you think of those vivid stories when I just put the idea in your head? You might win $100 million tomorrow. Yeah, it just comes into your head like that. You have it there. The only thing is, how can you form this into a story when you're on the spot? And that's a little bit more difficult, but there's some ways we can practice it. Another example about imagination. You don't have to answer this, just think in your head. Have any of you ever been out on a blind date? If you have, do you think before that date of a whole vivid worst case and a whole vivid best case scenario? Just the idea of going out on a blind date with someone, you may come up with all those ideas running through your head. Maybe in a very stressed fashion, maybe in a very excited fashion. Those are whole complete movies, whole complete stories that are going through your head just because you're thinking of a scenario. Can anyone think of anything else? You use your imagination. Just might shed some light on that for us. All right, good. Those are a couple just to remind you the vivid imagination that you already have without any acting training. Second thing is your profound understanding of storytelling techniques. In your lives, you've seen a lot of movies, read a lot of books, you've heard countless numbers of stories. Thousands, hundreds of thousands, I don't know. You have a pretty good idea of what makes a good story and what doesn't make a good story. When you walk out of the movie, you say, gosh, that character just didn't really seem believable. Or that conflict just didn't really interest me because I thought it was predictable. You have all these opinions about the story. Same thing when you read something. Same thing when you hear someone telling a story. You understand what's good just based on your years of experience of hearing all these stories. And I'll point out a couple things for you. Good stories are consistent. Good stories go somewhere. And good stories tie up loose ends. Those are three things that might come up with scenes that we'll do. And you'll understand it by watching. You'll just say, that scene didn't really go anywhere. They just kept talking about the same thing being down in an abandoned mine shack. Nothing happened. That wasn't a good story. Obviously it's harder to do when you're up here actually doing the performance, but you'll still see it because you have the skill set, you have the knowledge when you watch it. A good story will often tie up loose ends. If you introduce something about some crazy boss looking for you, and then you leave that hanging at the end of the scene, you don't tie up that loose end, the audience will be left wondering. They'll say, what happened to that crazy boss who was trying to track you down, trying to find you? Okay. Any questions on those? So, we talked about what improv is, we talked about why we're doing this, talk about how you're going to do it by using your great imagination, your understanding of storytelling techniques. A few techniques that improv artists use, I want to go over really quickly. There are three. I think it's on the third or fourth page of the slides. Three techniques. One is offer, the second is accept, and the third is build the story. Offer. Offer means when you're in a scene, you suggest something. So if I'm here with my scene partner, I might say, gosh, it's really scary being down here in this abandoned cave. That's my offer. I've suggested that we're in an abandoned cave. I've suggested that it's really scary down here. Now my scene partner is going to accept that offer.
Yes. It's very dark here,
Yeah, all right? He's not going to say, what are you talking about? We're on an airplane. Then it becomes a story about us arguing. We have to figure out where we are. Sometimes that can be funny, but it's only funny for like a second. And it doesn't establish anything that we can build on. So, offer means throw out an idea. Accept means accept that idea from your partner. And then the last one, build the story, which is just the idea of going somewhere. Think about what you love about stories. They're just not about two guys saying it's really scary down here 5 or 6 times back and forth. And if we introduce something like, oh, I smell some sort of methane leak.
Look! Oh my God.
Look, oh my God, there's something scary here. All right, and if we just forget about the scary thing and never come back to it, then you're going to wonder from a storytelling standpoint, what happened to that scary thing? Okay, so offer, accept, build the story. With that, I think we're going to just jump in. Oh, and by the way, this is Jamie-san. He is
Hey guys, how are you?
our musical director for tonight's class. We met a few months ago. He told me about his business background. I told him about mine. We're both doing improv type things and communication type things now. So he is going to bring the musical aspect. And he has a good understanding of how improv relates to the business world from years of experience in interactive media. He used to be a CEO of an interactive media company and dabbles in a number of things today. So, with that, we're going to start with a couple exercises. The first one we're going to do is, do you remember that zip, zap, zoom exercise we did? All right, so in a moment I'm going to have you form your circle, and we're going to do that. But before we do that, I want to ask you, how are we incorporating the offer idea? How are we incorporating the accept idea in that? All right, maybe I asked that question a little bit too fast. Let me do this instead. Let's get in our circle. Let me re-explain the rules, and then I'll remind you how offer and accept works in it. So you recall, I think we went up to the row that Jim and Daniel are in, and in through the aisles and kind of around this way. Okay, good. Yeah, so we need someone to fill in those. Yeah, yeah. To fill in that. Good. Okay, yeah, we can move the circle in. Okay, so if you may recall, we're passing around this imaginary ball of energy, and it starts with a zip, and we'll kind of pass that around the circle. Anyone, anytime, can switch the direction of this ball of energy with a zap. And then the zip starts going the other way. Anyone at any time can also zoom that ball of energy to someone else around the circle. Does that make sense? And I posed this question earlier before reminding you how this game worked, but there's offer and accepting going on in this. You're either offering a zip, a zap, or a zoom, and you need to be ready. You need to be prepared to accept and be spontaneous and respond. Okay, so let's shake off the elbows. All right, and get ready with our zip, zap, zoom. Zip, 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 zip,
Zip, zip, zip, zip.
zip,
Zip, zip, Zip, zip, zip, zip, zap.
Zap.
No.
No.
All right, start it again for us, Melina. You can say it. We won't do an elimination round. We can't do an elimination. You guys were too good. Remember that last time? Like it took me. I tried to do an elimination round where if you make a mistake, you're out, and it just went on forever. No one would make a mistake.
Oh, goodness, okay.
All right. All right. Zip, 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 zip.
Zoom.
Why me? Zip.
Zip, zip, zip.
Zoom. Zip, zip, zip.
Zip, 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 zip.
Zip.
Zoom.
Zip, zip,
Zip.
zip, zip, zip,
Zip.
Zip,
Zip.
zip, zap, zip, zip,
Zip.
zip, zap, zip,
Zip.
zip.
zap.
Zip. The zip landed somewhere here. Okay, good. All right, that's just a good warm-up, shake out the arms. While we're still in this circle, we're going to do that exercise play ball, which is where you pick up an imaginary ball and you throw it to someone across the circle. Now tell me what's going on here from an offer and accept, possible storytelling standpoint.
Size of the ball. Yeah.
What's the size of the ball?
An offer.
It's an offer. Size of the ball, how heavy the ball is, and then what's the accept aspect here?
Like how you react to the ball.
Yeah, so suppose Michael throws you a really heavy ball and you catch a really light ball. You did not accept his heavy ball offer. Or you're really strong. Right. Can you start us off, please? Oh. Don't throw that thing at me. Oh wait, what happened? You got it. Okay, I'm sorry. I turned my head for a minute. I just saw a really aggressive throw from Ashish. And then easy catch. Okay, excellent. So we can go ahead and let the ball dissipate. So we get the idea. We're throwing out some offers. We're accepting. We're on the same page. It's more interesting to watch, and we're more engaged from a body language standpoint, which we talked about in class 2, but we don't need to review that now. We're going to move on to the next exercise, which involves a conversation where we're designing a party for a friend of ours or a family member. How it's going to work is we're going to mingle around the room, and then when I say so, you're going to stop and turn to the person next to you, and you're going to have a discussion about creating some sort of party. And I might say, okay, plan your cousin's birthday party. And you're going to have a quick discussion about how that party's going to work and how you can make it really cool. And then I'll have you move on to someone else, and I'll say, plan your, your best friend's engagement party. Now, here's how it works. We're going to do it 3 times, and you're going to start this discussion. Actually, you're going to use a key term to build this party or explain this party. The first time, when you're discussing how to build this party, one person is going to make a suggestion, and the other person is going to say no to that suggestion and make their own suggestion. And then the original person is going to say no to that suggestion and make another suggestion. And you're just going to go back and forth like that. Does that make sense? Okay? So it'll be like, yeah, you get the idea. And then the next time we do it, we'll use different groups. we'll have a yes but, and then we'll have a yes and we'll see how that helps us build this problem. So, go ahead and, let's see, where do we want to mingle? We want to just kind of mingle a little bit. Sorry, just mingle around wherever, just walk around and something like that. Yeah. Just do a little walk around, shake out your elbows. Yeah, don't start, just start walking around. This is like this is a walk around, not talk around. Okay, turn to the person next to you and start planning your best friend's birthday party. It's like a mutual friend's birthday party. So one person will make a suggestion. The second person will say no and make another suggestion. And the first person will say no, make another suggestion. And try your best to plan this party. Go ahead and start.
I think we should pick one time.
No. 2:30.
What? No, I don't think it's
Okay, go ahead and end your conversation with that person and continue walking around. Say goodbye to that person. We didn't agree on anything. Just continue your stroll around through. Yeah, good. All right, turn to the person next to you. And with this person, with this person, plan a 4th of July party. And the key word here is going to be yes, but. So the first person is going to say, hey, I think we should have a 4th of July party with a whole bunch of fireworks. The next person is going to say yes, but, and add to something or supplement the idea somehow by saying yes, but. And then the original person is going to say yes, but to that idea. And continue the conversation and see how effectively you can plan this 4th of July party. All right, so go ahead and get started. Yes, but. All right, last one, turn to the person closest to you.
Okay, yeah.
All right.
Now let's plan a trip to Vegas with you and your friends. And the keyword this time is yes, yes, and. So one person's going to say something, you're going to say yes and add to that suggestion, and then the original person's going to say yes and your suggestion, and plan the trip to Vegas that way. So go ahead and begin planning this trip to Vegas with your friends, and see how far you get using yes and.
Okay, so we're going to Vegas. But we have to go to a hotel during the day. Yes, and we should make it rain.
That's all you can do.
Yes, and we can take the MGM Grand.
Yes, and I think we should probably get really drunk.
We can host a giant pool party.
Yes, and that sounds like an awesome idea, but no tattoos. So we should get fake tattoos.
Yes, we can definitely get strippers. And we should have a band playing after the party.
Yes. And I kind of think you should steal the cop car. But maybe the cop also.
Yes, and I know where we get Adderall to do that. And
Yes, and steal somebody's baby to have at the hotel. Like a tiger.
oh yes, and we will run away from the cops.
All right, say goodbye to this person.
Bye. We have an awesome party. We got Adderall. We got
Yeah.
Okay, so say goodbye. Say goodbye. Walk on. All right. So, someone tell me, what is the takeaway from this exercise? Why did I have you do this?
Oh, yeah, wait. And try to,
Yeah, so you got a chance to think of some things on your feet. Was it hard to think of ideas? Okay, so Priya says it was a little easier with the last one. Tell us about that, Priya. Or is that the one?
Well,
There you go.
if you said no, you had to think of something else. You said yes, but you had to contradict. But if you said can, it's okay to pick that idea. It was easier to just
Yeah, it's just mentally easier. If you say no, if someone says no to your idea, you have to think of another idea. You just have to stand up. If you're doing a scene, you have to reload every time. If you say yes, but, you have to think of a way to contradict that person, and there's a mental challenge there. If you say yes, and, did some of you come up with some pretty elaborate, pretty great parties for this Vegas? And did you come up with a great party when you're saying no every time? No, because you just one off, one off, one off, one. Now, it's possible you came up with an okay party when you used the yes, but, right? Does anyone want to tell me about their yes, but experiences? You could have come up with an interesting party, Dan.
Just gonna do a stalemate. A little bit.
Like a passive-aggressive, you do it this way, no, we'll do it this way. Okay, fine, we can kind of do it this way. So a stalemate. So you weren't able to accomplish a really great party. All right, any other thoughts on that?
I think that worked decent. We ended up in Newport for the 4th of July at the fireworks.
Fantastic. So, yes and is a key principle in improvisation, and it's something that business people like. Have you ever been in a business meeting with someone who says no to everything? This is what happens to the ideas in those business meetings. What happens to the creative process in those types of environments? Stops. Remember the initial scene I suggested where Jamie and I were down in a dark cave? If you just said, no, we're not in a dark cave, we just stop the scene. Where do we go from here? Well, I have to think of another idea. And I mentioned earlier when we discussed this, that ideas in improvisation, similarly to ideas in business, may not always seem like they make sense initially. It may not be the perfect, well thought out idea. But if you take it somewhere, you say yes, and you end up in, where, Newport? You could end up in some exciting places, in an improv scene and in a business scene. So that's the takeaway. Yes, and is a key aspect of improvisation. So, everyone, let's see, Everyone go ahead and have a seat, and I'm going to explain the next exercise. This next exercise is called interview panel. It's a fun way just to jump into improvisation, and I find it just goes well for beginners. We're going to have 4 or 5 people come up and be interview panelists. They're going to present something to us. We're going to give them the idea. They're going to spend 3 or 4 minutes making a presentation about it, and then we're going to open up the floor to questions. And I will give you a scenario. I'll say, all right, you're presenting a new scientific discovery. You're presenting a public health announcement. You're explaining the history of your rock and roll band. We'll give some sort of suggestion, and then you'll go from there. And the key is to be on the same page and be consistent with each other. So if I could get 4 or 5 volunteers to start us off. Oh, you're 4? Oh, no. I volunteer.
You don't have to.
So,
Really, there's a lot of enthusiasm right here. Never going to pass it to the next one.
okay, so this panel, let's say you all are, and you can pull those chairs forward if you need to, just to make it a little more formal. All right, so the 4 of you are going to present, let's say, some new scientific discovery. Why don't you go ahead and explain what the scientific discovery is, why it's important to us, and then we'll open up the field for some questions.
So, should we start?
Yeah.
Okay. Should we take a minute? Yeah.
No, somebody just starts.
Here, I'll start. So today we're here to announce that we've been able to take mosquito blood from their DNA and ambers and actually replicate dinosaurs.
People used to think it was just, something in the movies, but we were able to accomplish it after only, 6 days?
Yeah, 6 days.
Yeah, we were pretty happy with what we were able to achieve. Mostly the brain component was free in here.
Yeah.
Well, it all started with a mosquito bite. And I decided that I wanted to look more into what's behind mosquitoes and their blood. And it was actually pretty easy.
She makes it sound like she can do it.
Her mosquito bite was huge, by the way. She couldn't go out in public for about 6 days. And that's where she sat there and actually decided we could take this DNA that the mosquitoes collected, we could find an ancient mosquito, we could actually replicate it into a dinosaur. And that's what she did. She traveled all the way to the Amazon to find this mosquito. And she went with Rebecca, actually, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, how was that trip?
It was great, and we took a small canoe down the Amazon and found a giant cave that we went in, and that's when we saw this fossil with the mosquito in it, and we thought, you know what, I bet if we take this back, Ricky and Jay will be able to come up with some dinosaur DNA out of this. Yeah, 6 days.
Yes. 6. Yes.
6 days. It really was not too difficult. I mean, the hardest part was probably getting it out of the stone. Definitely the hardest part. But once we figured that out, we let the scientists do all the work for us. She was able to look at DNA versus human DNA and kind of put the missing pieces together to really make kind of an interesting new dinosaur at first. But I think we finally put it together and got ourselves a little mini pterodactyl.
Right. Well, there's different kinds of dinosaurs, but I'm working on some new
Are they hybrids?
Okay, great. Are there any questions from the audience? Blake?
Can you describe your scientific method in reaching your
Oh, no.
So it's very long-winded, and I don't think we have enough time. Well, let's just say science and stuff combined. Let's figure it out. That's what we used, and that's how we came up with it. Scientific method, crazy. Yes, we'll take, yeah.
So can you describe this new hybrid you found?
Yes. Please allow me.
Please.
So the first specimen we were able to produce was actually actually just tumor. So that's step one. And then
Some kind of killing.
But failures are opportunities to learn. We learn from that mistake and figure out.
So what did you do with this human that you created by accident?
Oh, it's classified. We can't discuss it. I'm sorry. Yeah.
I am. She's still learning, yeah. But she's come a long way, actually. That's part of a new technology we're working on. We can talk about that at the next meeting. But really, it took several different mosquitoes and kind of DNA together to really formulate just one. So we have thousands of mosquito samples. So we were able to harness the DNA from several different pieces together. And it's easy.
How and where do you see this discovery?
Have you seen the movie Jurassic Park? Yes. Well, if you're not familiar with it, I could just quickly, unless someone else would like to tell the premise of our idea.
So our idea is to actually just replicate it and let them out in the wild, like maybe like Carolina, Florida, somewhere around there, and see what happens. Yeah, tropical areas, and just see what happens. As scientists, we're really interested to see how humans will interact with these species that have been excluded.
And we do realize there are safety risks behind that. So what Jay failed to mention is that they will actually be miniature versions. So they will be easily to hunt, and their meat's really delicious.
Well, they'll be miniature versions at first so that humans have the chance to evolve and adapt. But they'll get gradually bigger.
As our lead scientists, that's what Korea's main plan is.
And Priya has planned hybrids that will incorporate all the good characteristics of the dinosaurs so that people will really like them.
Such as invisibility is one of the features that she's decided to use.
How'd you manage to capture thousands and thousands of mosquitoes? Like, I tried to kill one and I killed all of them.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, they're ancient mosquitoes in bedrock. So, yeah, so we had to actually go
It was a big thing.
many caves, several caves, and several large.
So you use the crane to get the rocks out?
Well, in 6 days, we had to employ about 1 million people. So we went to Colombia. We found. You want to take it first?
Where did you get the money to employ 1 million people in six days' notice?
We have a very
Quiet.
quiet donor who we actually can't say.
I think his name was Hammond. We can't disclose.
We're not really allowed to disclose that.
Does his name rhyme with prom?
No. He only does hotels.
All right, thank you. All right, excellent job. I think they really laid out a good structure. They were consistent on a few things. The 6 days, how they discovered this, and that platform enabled them to make some funny jokes without straying from their original message. Any other thoughts on that? Yeah, the main thing I think they did really well was just laying out that clear structure of who they were, what they did in a 6-day time frame, some things they could go back to. So we thought, wow, that's a consistent story, and it's funny the way you're adding to it with these little curveballs we're throwing. Okay, so let's try another 4 or 5 interview panelists. Who wants to? And Carrie, thank you. Allie? Halima? Okay. And all right, we'll leave it at 4. Okay, so what should these folks be explaining to us? Who are they? They're a rock and roll band? Okay, they're a newly formed rock and roll band. They're going to tell us a little bit about themselves and perhaps their future plans, and then we'll, as the press corps representing their adoring fans, we'll ask them some questions.
I could just add one real quick thing. One of the things that isn't talked a lot about in improv, but it's great to do, is play to the top. It's called play to the top of your intelligence. And what that means is that if you have no clue what you're really talking about, you want to really sound like you absolutely know what you're talking about. as intelligent as you could possibly get, if that makes any sense. So it's good to try to stay there if you can in improv scenes because it brings out some things that sometimes you can.
Yeah, so we fake it, pretend that you know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, excellent, good point. Okay, so tell us, let's start us off, what's going on, who you are.
So we're a rock band. We're called Real Big Fish. And we're on tour. We came to your town for Rage Fest 4000, and we're gonna rock it out like no other.
All right.
Beat's gonna drop, and everyone's gonna be in the air. Now let me tell you about this guy. All right, this guy set up all of the fireworks, the set, got all the lights going. Allie's on the drums, and we got Helena on the guitar. And let me tell you, it's gonna be the hottest show you've ever seen. Why don't you tell him about it, Carrie?
So I'm basically the organizer and the backup vocalist. We're gonna rock tonight, right? Is that what you guys do? Let's do it. Woo! Yeah. So here's our drummer. She's the best in the business, like the best in the business. She has these like top-notch Gretsch drum sets that she drums with, and just tell us about some of your tricks.
So since we made it big, thanks to all of our fans, I got to upgrade my drums to my old ones. I used to have just this one little drum, but now I have a whole drum set. So I'm gonna go at it, and I hope you all love it.
Thanks to you guys.
Yeah, hi, I'm Mike Gordon. I'm the bass player of the band called Fish, and I'm just wondering where you came up with the name. What's it called again?
Real Big Fish.
Real Big Fish. Is that a knockoff of my band? Because you know how hard we work to play English music, especially in New York.
Well, we're not really looking to one-up anybody. We just saw this one really big fish one time we were all together fishing, and we're just like, that's a great name for a band. We're like, you see this thing?
That's a real
Success
big fish.
in a fish.
Yeah, we never heard of the band, so I mean, for us, it was more like we went on a trip, we saw this big fish, and why do you talk more about that?
Well, we actually thought that big fish was synonymous with what we do in terms of being the big fish in the room. She's got a great drum set. I have my magical guitar. People don't know about my guitar, the strings and everything. I don't go anywhere without it. I travel everywhere. I sleep with my guitar. And when I get on a plane, the guitar, I have to pay for a seat for my guitar. But big fish, we are here to stay. We came far. So everybody else better watch out.
The flying fit their guitar and she's ready to rock and roll, right?
That's
Yeah,
right.
There's a reason we're the closing set.
All right.
That's waiting for us at the end of the night.
Question, Ricky.
What's your name?
Ricky, hi. I was wondering if you could speak to the scandal in the tabloids recently about you, Carrie.
Myself?
Yes.
I hope she didn't bring that up. That was really supposed to be on hush hush.
Yeah.
Well, we're here doing our press tour, and I think after the concert would be the appropriate time to discuss things like this. I could give you like one of those like backstage passes if you like, and then we can talk about it there. I think it would be better.
Yeah, then they will know why we're called big fish.
I just wish you answered all my questions.
No, you can respect my privacy. Second question, yes ma'am, what's your name, by the way?
Alicia. Yeah, so the reason I'm such a big fan is because I heard that Allie and Alima, that you got, so Allie gave her drumsticks to you, so you actually play your guitar with her drumsticks, and she plays the drums without drumsticks? That's the cool thing. How did that happen?
So I'm telling you, between the two of us, we work together. Obviously, we practice a lot. But yeah, now to entertain the crowd, there are a lot of times that I do play with her drumsticks. And it does amazing things for the sound. The music has to live. Amazing.
And that's really our differentiating point from other bands, is that people don't see that every day. So they come watch us because we're different, we're exciting, we bring a really exciting feel, and people love it.
And Allie rolls all over the floor too.
It gets really wild.
Yeah, it's really funky.
We are.
Got a question in the back?
Yeah, I heard you guys fight a lot, is that true?
I'm sorry?
I heard you guys fight a lot.
We let it all out in music, you know, on stage. In front of everybody.
That's why I roll around.
Yeah.
So you guys don't get along with each
We're
other?
expressing
and then let it out on
ourselves.
stage, is that what it is?
We're artists, we're musicians. You know, it's just free thought. I mean, we get along, we don't really call it an argument. It's just us discussing heated topics, I guess.
How's heated does it get?
I'm sorry, what's your name?
DJ.
DJ? Okay. DJ, first of all, as you may know, sometimes bands go on tour and we got to see each other for months and months on different cities and going across the country to Canada, to Mexico, and wherever. So obviously, sometimes we do have tensions, between backup and the lead and the drum and the guitar. That happens, but we don't call it arguments. We just call it, the type of moments that we have, and we break out of that, and we gotta perform the next set.
Well, except when Allie took my boyfriend.
Oh.
Yeah, she took my boyfriend away from me. I'm still not
But-
quite over that either.
But that's how we made this great album, so it paid off, right?
Yeah, you're right. It did pay off, but we are the best band.
Yeah. It's a,
We got two children now.
Actually, Carrie, I wanted to know what's your favorite song to play on tour?
What's my favorite song?
Yeah.
It's called Flying High. I actually love that song.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, question, Halima. Would you agree with your ex-boyfriend's statement that he wants to be with Allie because he thinks she contributes more talent to the band than you do?
I actually don't. I think that we are at an equilibrium, and that's the way that I see it. I think he just tried to come in and cause dissension between the two of us, but we're great friends, and like Carrie said, we spend a lot of time on the road, and we are the girls of the group, and we watch out for each other. What do you think, Alan? Do you think that you have more talent?
I mean, I think sometimes I could have more talent. Maybe if I have an off day, then our talent is like at the same level. But I mean,
Yes, but should we start rolling on the floor right now? The artist told me to speak up.
no, that's when we play. We don't have to do that yet. We can.
I think we should.
All right, last question from Matt.
Yes, sir. So when that report came out to the public where you took your boyfriend, can you possibly see your arm? We heard that she took your drumstick and actually stabbed you. Can you confirm that report?
You know, I have long sleeves on today, so I can't confirm it. But I have a little bit of a battle wound, but it's nothing major.
So it's just.
It was just. I mean, it wasn't that much tension. It was more just us, creating the music.
By hitting each other?
That's when we're the best. That's when we're the best. All those emotions flowing, those
Yeah.
juices flowing.
Yeah.
And that's why everybody loves the big fish.
Yeah. That's why our album's doing great now.
And we're the best.
Don't forget to buy it. Thank you.
All right, awesome. Let's do one more interview. I like this because it's a good chance to give more people a shot. So let's get at least 4 more people. Matthew. Jim. Alicia. And our technical. Thanks. All right, so what are these 4 people going to announce, discuss? Who are they? Who are Priya?
We're looking for aliens making contact with Earth for the first time.
Okay, so good press conference. 4 aliens making contact with the Earth for the first time. I suppose that's up to you.
Just kidding. They're actually much more intelligent than you human beings, just so you're
like I walk around and nobody actually looks in front of them. They're kind of just looking at these small little boxes. I'm not really sure what's in those. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts.
I'm just trying to catch that one. Seems like he's strong.
Yeah.
Get me through the Elite Four.
Catch, what do you mean catch? Are you here to like catch us or conquer us or?
Well, we're better than you, right? So we're gonna take over.
Okay.
This was just a warning. Prepare.
We just needed a place to go swimming because our planet is mostly ice, and this place seems like it has a lot of good pools. So
Although I wouldn't say here. This is what is it? So dirty.
I think this is a garbage pit. This whole area.
So these, you guys collect the garbage?
So why are you here? What exactly are your plans?
To recruit or destroy.
And take the water.
Can you just help me understand? You mentioned before that you are much smarter than everybody else here, right? I heard, that's what I heard. Why are you so much smarter? I mean, what's your mojo? What have you got that we don't have?
Well, we made it here. We make it for our planet.
That language we spoke in the beginning, you think that was just
We know your
Sounds.
language. You don't know ours.
nope, just sound.
We don't fight with each other.
We spoke this 2,000 years. We speak English. So if you're so much smarter, why did it take you so long to find the best planet out there? We've been here for a long time. There were many other better planets, just
We're just making our way down.
This is more pit stop. Just to go off.
We check them all out, see what we like from each one, and then take what we want from there, and we'll go to a new planet with now new things, so we can take the best of what we have, and that's how we're kind of scoping out the
Pluto's
best of the
actually
best.
Pluto's way better, and that's not even a planet anymore.
Why do you think that is? Yeah.
What's life on other planets like?
You'll find out when you go over.
You don't have to always walk on other planets, which is pretty fun. Rather than here, you guys all walk, or run, or those things, yeah, that you do that way.
We sent Superman to check this out before we came. That's how you get around.
you guys made the movie now. You guys are so entertained.
But I thought Superman on your guys' planet didn't fly. He flies on your planet? I thought the sun flies. Our sun is able to fly. While on planet Krypton,
Well,
he
that's
was
not
telling me,
even
he
the right
told me
planet.
personally that he can't fly on his own planet.
Clearly he's...
So you calling Superman a lie?
He's a smart guy. Why would he tell you that? Why do you need to know the
You can't
truth?
know all
There's a
of
bigger
our
plan
secrets.
behind it.
Do y'all have names? Why you guys look same as like us? Like, what's wrong?
Well, we're not the same as you. We get to disguise ourselves.
We have technology that
And
makes it...
do you have names, like, or do you go by like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
Name?
What are your names?
Emperor 1, Emperor 2, Emperor 3,
Empress 3.
How did you guys figure out the ranking 1, 2, 3, 4?
We drew balls. We drew out of the whole pot. Luckily I got one.
You've spoken a lot about your intelligence, but it's in question if you think the Superman, which is your comic book, is real. So I'm a little confused about that. I was wondering if you could prove your intelligence by calculating a math equation for me.
2 + 2 is 4.
Excellent.
All right, excellent. Any comments for those improvisational actors? The one thought I had is that they gave us a whole bunch of ideas, but they didn't gravitate towards one central thing. And I think that would have helped their scene. And I think that could have been, why are you here? Why are you here question. First we got a search and destroy, and then you're a garbage dump, then it was, we're just passing through. So there were a lot of little ideas. I think they needed to yes and each other, and somebody needed to step up and say, this is why we're here, this is the platform of our discussion. And then we would have had a little more consistency, and it would have taken the pressure off. I felt like there was pressure that whole scene to come up with something good, something significant, some sort of platform. And the way I think to create that is just yes and. Let's build off a specific idea that I'm hearing and create that. Any questions or comments on that?
I was going to say one more comment too. What was your name? Alicia. You did something really great, I think. And that's when we all sat down. It got a real good laugh, right, out of the room. And you played to the top of your intelligence by actually literally saying we're smarter than you. And I think that's just an example of what I was talking about playing to the top of your intelligence. By doing that, you got a laugh. And it wasn't just a little laugh. You guys really laughed and got it. So I think that that was a really solid decision and it really played out well.
Okay. So I wanted to practice some PowerPoint techniques with improv. So I'm going to have two folks come up and give us a PowerPoint lecture. I've got the slides for you. All I need are two people to present for us. And create this story. So how about Michael C. and Daniel? So you're just going to click forward and back with the PowerPoint slide, and you may need to tell us who you are, and just do your best to make this presentation. Any questions? Does that make sense? Sure. Okay.
All right, so good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming to our investor pitch meeting. Over here, investor pitch meeting. My name is Mike. This is Dan, and I'm taking you through a full presentation here. By the end of it, you're going to want to invest with us. So our company founders, Wolfgang Uberbusen and Simonize Sticky Fingers Smith. Yeah, why don't you tell them about Sticky Fingers? So he goes by Sticky Fingers. Obviously, it's kind of a comical nickname. But he's a really great guy, and we just found that he has sticky fingers, and money just seems to come to him, and that's why our company's doing so well. Thanks to good old Sticky Fingers. We'll keep him around for a while. Excellent car recovery skills as well. Keep that in mind. The company motto, cars not people. It's about all you need. And this is a picture of our business model, which is parking a crane real close to the water and kind of just hoping for the best. No, so honestly, it's a recovery site. Someone drove their vehicle into the water, he's just kind of standing on it. Must not be very deep water, but we're recovering cars from accidents, black ice, sand in the road. Do you have anything to add on this business model? I mean, it's a pretty solid business model. Like, I mean, we have cranes, we have lots of people, divers, depending on the situation where the car is. We have ropes, people with climbing equipment and stuff. It doesn't matter where your car is, we can get it. We'll recover it for you. Even if it's even if it's a lost cause, we'll get it. This is actually the car being recovered. As Dan mentioned, ropes, cranes. There was a diver that went off this boat right here. This is ours as well. So this one. Just an example of some of the things we do. Getting there?